Philadelphia has reached a deal with the city to end a strike that lasted more than a week. Virginia's governor is among those expressing gratitude to Texas rescuers. Glenn Youngkin tells reporters he's grateful and emotional after his wife, family members, and friends were stranded and later rescued from flash flooding.
These people are family to us, deep relationships, and therefore what happened in the wee hours of the morning on Friday has been devastating.
That's audio from WWBT. At least 160 people are still missing. This is AP News. A controversial effort to bring back extinct species has gained the support of a noted filmmaker.
Within a few years, we'll get to see a moa back again.
That's Peter Jackson, the Oscar-winning director of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, talking about an extinct flightless bird that resembles an ostrich but stood 12 feet tall. It's called the moa, and Jackson owns one of the largest private collections of its bones.
We are collecting DNA from all 9 species of moa.
Beth Shapiro is with Colossal Biosciences, and they're working with Jackson to bring back the lost species.
Using the tools of genome editing to make those changes in the DNA sequence of the living close relatives.
Scientists like Duke University's Stuart Pym see the effort as misguided.
This is straight out of, Frankenstein.
I'm Ben Thomas.
More stories at apnews.com. I'm Marcela Sanchez.
This is 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see a few spotty showers and thunderstorms here for today with a blend of clouds and sunshine developing and a high into the mid-80s. Winds out of the southwest around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tonight, partly cloudy skies develop and a low near 67. Thursday, sunshine, high of 84 degrees. Friday, a chance for showers and thunderstorms. Cloudy skies with a high around 91. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 72. 1 in 4 Americans have a disability. I'm one of them. I'm also a working mom who cares deeply about making sure every child with a disability thrives by getting their access needs met. We've got a trusted ally by our side. Easter Seals provides children and families the foundation for lifelong success through early learning programs, skills training, and prep for college and career. That's my Easter Seals. Make it yours. Join us at easterseals.com.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chu. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chu.
Good Wednesday morning, progressives, and all the rest, too. By the way, independents, Democrats, progressives, liberals, conservatives. Got to get some of y'all to clear your head, free your heel. And there's a skiing phrase I think I've heard: free your heel and your you know what will follow. But anyhow, 773-763-9278. Good morning. It's Choose Views, Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, and YouTube, as well as iHeartRadio. Email me at richard@WCPT820.com and catch me on Substack. Catch all of our shows, of course, by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. That's right. There you can get Choose Views, featured interviews, shorts and longs. Also, Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive, Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez, The Big Picture with Edwin Eisendrath, and, of course, our good friends at Out Chicago and our other shows and interviews, all that good stuff that we do. Make your way over to heartlandsignal.com because there is much fun there. Let me tell you, our folks really leaned in from Heartland on a few interesting stories. Right here in Illinois, State Senator Andrew Chesney, from a Republican from Freeport, goes on a racist rant about Governor Pritzker's pro-immigration policies. Y'all got to check this one out. I mean, it's a short clip, but just this dude is off the rails. And there's others that you want to check out, and I think you'll enjoy what we've got posted on Heartland Signal on X. So make your way over there. On today's show, we are busy, very, very busy. We have DaMareo Cooper, who is one of the co-founders of Popular Democracy. He'll be with us at 6:30, so we got to keep it moving. Our good friend Kurt Mullett from Hoosier Blue 63 will be with us at 7, talking about a few items. He's got a new podcast and some great stuff that he's doing. And then in studio with us will be Dr. Kimberlee Guenther from the United Way Chicago to talk about some upcoming events that are taking place and work that she's doing to keep things moving forward here with the United Way in Chicago. But for the time being, progressives, check this out.
Lee, I'll start with you because you are a naturalized U.S. citizen.
I am.
Does this strike some fear in you?
How could it not? You know, I'm not alone. There are 24 million of me in this country that are naturalized. You said 53% of the total amount of immigrants. And I think it just keeps bringing it back to the idea that this was never about illegals, about criminals. It was about who we don't want in this country. Because the amount of people that we're seeing rounded up, you know, at immigration courts, they're there doing it correctly. And they're being rounded up and taken by ICE officers. Then we're talking about, does your birthright citizen count? You know, does that count? And then you talk about people like me, who are naturalized. I came here as a student. I had a student visa. Then I had an H-1B visa. Then I had a green card, temporary green card, then a green card. Then I applied for citizenship. It is no joke. The common argument for undocumented immigrants in this country is, why don't they just come here legally? And the legal way is actually very hard. It is expensive. It is hard. It is complicated. We don't have nearly enough ways to come here legally. There's a lot of people who come in crisis and then think, okay, I'll just get my things organized once I'm here and my family is safe. I did it completely legally, and I can tell you it took years. It took thousands and thousands of dollars, and it took time. You're constantly jumping through new hoops to prove that you are not a problem. And now they're saying you did it entirely legally, and we can still take it from you because we're going to decide who's American. We're going to decide who counts, and we're going to decide what the rules are after the fact. And that's a little bit like changing the rules of the game after you've played the game.
Yeah, and that's Lee McGowan. That's who that was. She was on CNN. Politics Girl is her sort of online handle. And she posts a tremendous amount of information. You've seen her videos, and you may have even seen her on CNN. She naturalized from Canada and went through the steps. But as she said, it's expensive and it's very, very, very time consuming. Now, that's not to say, you know, it is to say that we want people to do it the right way, the way that is most amenable to what we're trying to get done here with immigration. But the problem in this conversation is what she said toward the tail end, which is moving the goalpost. And the moving of the goalpost seems to be part of what's happening. It's been happening for a while, but I would say that the goalpost has been moved faster and more recklessly under Republican administrations to make it more, quote, difficult than it already is. And people will say this based on the data, so it's not just me. The data experts will say that it's also, by making it more complicated, it's become more expensive. And as a result of it being more complicated and more expensive, it becomes riskier. But to the point that she made about people doing it the right way, getting their items in order, showing up at court, and then being taken, I mean, that's just, it's beyond crazy. I could come up with a bunch of different words to label it. At the end of the day, when I watch some of the videos of people being literally snatched, pushed up against the wall, you know, half their clothes being pushed off, or, you know, body being just things that, you know, are not humane. I hope that the ICE, see, this is the thing. People say, well, they're just doing their job. Well, you get to decide. You know, you get to decide at some point if the job that you're doing is right, righteous, humane, and all the other things. Is it kind? And other people say, well, it's not about kindness, Richard. It's about getting these illegals out. Well, like I've been saying, and I'm going to say it a lot. So I hope I frustrate all the people out there who are the MAGA trolls that listen to this show and our entire station of broadcast. I hope I frustrate the heck out of you. And for those who want me to talk about something else, I'm I'm going to talk about this one because the reason that I'm frustrated behind it is it's a mistreatment of human beings. Illegals, like the woman from the UK said in the clip that we played yesterday. I mean, give me a break. This illegals conversation is designed to make it about brown people because I know that there are, listen, here's how I know what I'm about to say, that there are people who are here illegally that don't look like the people that are being rounded up proportionately and percentage-wise. They just don't. And you know what I'm saying or not saying. And that's going back to what Michelle Peltier said yesterday in Moments with Michelle. It's enabling those other people, those people who don't look like the folks that are being rounded up and that we're being shown. Because see, here's the thing. The media is either telling a lie or they're not telling the truth. And that's a different side of the same conversation. They're either telling a lie or they're not telling the truth. And what do I mean by that? They're either not, the not telling the truth part is this. If the people, because folks have said to me, well, Chew, they're rounding up Europeans too. Okay, then how come the media is not showing us that? So then the media is not telling the truth. They're not showing that. And I believe that they should be. So if they're rounding up folks from Poland and folks from Austria and folks from whatever European country, from Russia, from wherever, then why aren't they showing it? That's my question. Why is the media not showing it? And why is the administration so heavily focused on the border folks that are, quote unquote, that by their definition, illegal? Why? Somebody help me out with that one. We have another clip that should we do that one now? Or should we go to a break and come back? Let's do it now. We have another clip. And this is speaking to one of those folks that, some might speculate may be here illegally.
August 1st deadline. And so the taco watch is on again on Wall Street, this time with August 1st as a deadline. Donald Trump has never been very serious about deadlines. You might recall his promise 9 years ago that his wife would hold a press conference during Donald Trump's first presidential campaign to explain her immigration status. And she would do that to explain the evolution of her immigration status, having arrived in this country apparently on a tourist visa. There are people being rounded up by federal agents dressed as soldiers carrying weapons of war for overstaying tourist visas. And so Donald Trump, letter of the law, compliance with immigration law is obviously the thing that he cares about the most. He's willing to send people to countries they've never been to for the slightest irregularity in their compliance with our immigration law. He's willing to send people to South Sudan, where there is a war going on. People from Central America sent to South Sudan. And so you might be wondering right now, what about Donald Trump's third wife's immigration status? Here is what Donald Trump said about that in his first presidential campaign.
Oh, and by the way, they said my wife Melania might have come in illegally. Can you believe that one? No. They said, headlines, maybe she came in illegally, maybe. Let me tell you one thing. She has got it so documented, so she's going to have a little news conference over the next couple of weeks. That's good. That's good. I love it. They said, Melania Trump may have come into our country illegally, and how would that be for Donald Trump?
Next couple of weeks, a news conference. I paid attention to that deadline when Donald Trump issued that deadline. And on this program, exactly 2 weeks later, I asked why the Melania Trump press conference had not happened yet. Why did Donald Trump's 2-week deadline for that important press conference come and go? It's 9 years later. Donald Trump is rounding up people at the point of assault weapons. Donald Trump is sending troops into MacArthur Park in Los Angeles where children are playing. It's 9 years later. And that press conference, as of tonight, is 9 years overdue. So no, we've never heard Melania Trump's story, Donald Trump's third wife's story, about how she came to have legal residence in the United States. And so Trump always chickens out might apply to more than one person named Trump.
I love that part. Go get him, Lawrence. He's speaking about Melania. When we have our good friend DaMareo Cooper on, we'll be talking about the 14th Amendment, birthright citizenship, and a few other items in that space, because this is the anniversary today, July 9th, of the 14th Amendment. So we'll be talking about that in the 6:30 hour. But let's take a quick break, guys. The number is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views on the Credo mobile phone and text line. We'll be right back.
This is a WCPT Veteran Minute. In the heart of World War II, while the skies rumbled with the roar of combat, a groundbreaking squad of pilots emerged from the segregated South. The Tuskegee Airmen, an elite group of African-American pilots, defied the odds with their courage and skills. Trained at the Tuskegee Army Airfields in Alabama, they became the first black aviators in the U.S. military. Despite facing racism and skepticism, they soared through the skies, unmatched precision, escorting bombers and earning a distinguished reputation for their bravery. Their red-tailed P-51 Mustangs became a symbol of excellence and resilience, and in 2007, the Tuskegee Airmen were finally honored as they were awarded the Congressional Gold Medal. These aviators didn't just fight for victory in the air, they battled for equality on the ground, forever altering the landscape of the American military and inspiring generations to come. This has been a WCPT Veteran Minute.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
Good morning. You're waking up with Richard Chew.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
We're live and ready to hear from you. Text or call us now at 773-763-9278. Same number. Simple as that. Let's get the conversation going on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey guys, welcome back to Choose Views. How about a couple of Choose Views news items this morning on July 9th, 2025? Unfortunately, the death toll tops 100 in the Texas floods. Rescuers from across the country have joined search efforts in central Texas for survivors of the Guadalupe River floods that started last Friday. At least 109 people, including 28 children and counselors from a summer camp, were killed, officials said. At least 23 others remain unaccounted for, with officials warning that hope in finding people alive is fading and the death toll is likely to rise. The floods are among the deadliest in the country in the last 100 years, according to the New York Times. The U.S. has set 50% tariffs on copper. The U.S. will implement a 50% tariff on copper, according to Donald Trump, one of the number of planned industry-specific levies. Tariffs on foreign-made pharmaceuticals will be delayed at least a year, he added, to give manufacturers time to shift their operations to the U.S. Trump said he wouldn't further extend the August 1st deadline for payment of reciprocal tariffs. More than a dozen U.S. trading partners were notified of those levies, which range from 25 to 40%. Boy, oh boy. And of course, the U.S. is the cuts that are taking place right now is a threat to mental health jobs. What does that mean? Billions of dollars in federal cuts imperil the fastest growing sector in the U.S. since the pandemic, mental health care. Staffing levels have more than doubled since 2020, with 273,000 workers, and has a number of people in treatment, but the Trump administration is seeking at least $12 billion in cuts, according to Bloomberg. Additionally, the recent spending bill slashes roughly $1 trillion over the next decade from Medicaid, which is the biggest payer for mental health services. And last but not least, TSA okay shoes at the airport screening. After nearly 2 decades of barefoot airport walks, the TSA plans to stop requiring flyers to remove their shoes at security checkpoints, according to the Wall Street Journal. TSA has yet to announce the news, which was first reported by travel newsletter Gate Access. The policy was officially put in place in 2006 as a response to the 2001 shoe bomber incident, as you guys remember. So there you go, guys. Some Choose Views news items this morning, and you heard the clip from Lawrence O'Donnell. That's part of an article that our good friend Sarah Jones posted on her her post on the Substack, The Daily. So you might want to check that out. It goes into a little bit more depth. And guess what? This may come as a surprise to you, but America doesn't like Donald Trump. In a recent report and study, Obama obviously still ranking higher. And of course, part of that's driven off the fact that people just don't like the dude. Here are some recent politicians, ranking of politicians over the last few decades. Jimmy Carter has a 92% favorability and 62% popularity ranking. Barack Obama, 99% and 61% popularity, so just under President Carter. Arnold Schwarzenegger, 95% and 55%. Kamala Harris, 98% and 52%. You guys hear that? And Bernie Sanders, 93% fame and popularity, and popularity 50%. Trump keeps falling further and further and further behind in terms of presidents, living or not, that have lost whatever popularity that they had. And that shouldn't surprise any of us, because what the dude is doing and what his minions are doing and the people that are complicit would make it pretty understandable that he would be this unpopular. He's unpopular. His administration's unpopular. I won't say I love, but it does make me chuckle to watch how Pam Bondi just bends herself over the barrel and twists herself into pretzels, as well as Caroline Leavitt and Kristi Noem. And now Nancy Mace, who's not part of the administration, has decided to jump into the fray of cosplaying by standing in front of a police cruiser with the lights on, holding a police vest. I guess if she were to put it on, someone might say she's impersonating a police officer. I don't know. But it's these people that are impersonating, cosplaying, trying to pretend to be smart and strong and competent. But in actuality, what they are is a bunch of incompetent, ill-equipped DEI. And this is where I poke a little fun at the use of DEI, not at DEI itself. Talk about people that are not, capable, not competent. Certainly lower than mediocre. Mediocre is kind of middle of the road. These folks are below mediocre. They're not even at the quote unquote Mendoza line of mediocrity. I kind of put those two together. Maybe I shouldn't do that. But doggone it. I mean, what are they getting done? What is Kristi Noem getting done other than walking around in costumes? And Nancy Mace is an elected official in South Carolina, but what is she getting done for the people? This is what the folks in South Carolina should be asking. Why in the hell are you posing in front of a cruiser with a police vest on when you should be making sure that people who have needs are getting those needs? Why aren't you, rather than spending time doing that, putting bills forth that will help get more resources to the folks in your state? Because it ain't about that for them. And I shouldn't say I hate to put it this way, but I will very carefully put it this way. The Trump talks about being, good with bringing women in and so forth to his administration. Pretty much every woman that's in his administration, other than maybe Susie Wiles, and I've said this before, is highly incompetent and inexperienced. And so to that end, we've got this administration that just doesn't get stuff done. But we've got to do what Michelle Peltier said yesterday. We have to make sure that we are taking care of ourselves. We are making sure that we are looking out for those around us. And if you don't have somebody to look out for that that's personal in your family or in your cadre of friends or in your coworker banks, then find somebody. Get involved with the organization that's going to help not only you and you get stronger and feel more connected, but help that organization do the same thing. And when we talk to DaMareo today, we'll probably venture into that a little bit about getting involved. And of course, when we have Kimberlee on and in studio, hopefully we'll have a chance to let her chat about how you can get involved with what's going on with the United Way here in Chicago and other places in the country. But get involved, guys. We have to be the ones that pull our own heads out of the sand. We have to be the ones that are focusing on, I guess the best way I can put it, we're focusing on the future. The changing of the past is not reality. Focusing on the future is, and changing that is in our hands, even in this crazy of times. And there's all kinds of things that we've got to be holding on to. But I think at this point, we've got to make sure that we're doing that. So do we have time to take a quick call? We'll wait. We'll hold off until, we'll wait on calls because it's coming to the bottom of the hour. We have a guest that's going to be with us in a little bit, so I don't want to have them waiting too long. But yeah, guys, we want to make sure that we are holding on to the things that we cherish and that we find important. And I know that I played this two clips earlier about immigration because it hurts my heart to see people just being, quote unquote, manhandled while they're trying to do the right thing. I mean, taking people from their children and I saw this clip. I didn't even want to play it because you can't hear the audio. I wanted to play, but you can't hear the audio. The video is more. It's a father is outside of his house in his garage. He's out. I think he had just taken the trash out. Dude was walking back into the house and ICE rolls up on him in a residential area. He's on his driveway, and his wife and his two daughters came out because ICE had him detained. And he was giving his daughters hugs and kisses to letting them know that he loved them, and his wife the same. And it was just heartbreaking to see this guy. And his daughters were telling him, "Daddy, we love you." I mean, I know that people want to say in a retortive way that, this is who Republicans are. I know that, but we that are not the GOP and the Republicans and the maggots and all the rest, we have to be the ones to fight a little bit harder. We have to be the ones to push back and punch those bullies in the face. We just do. And I think that when I talk about holding on to what we cherish, this is one of the things that we cherish. As part of our belief in the Constitution, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Let's not let the Republicans, the GOP, the maggots take that away from us. Bump Donald Trump. There's another four-letter word that I'll use, but I can't use it on the air, and you can figure it out. It begins with an F, and it ends with another letter that may sound like K. That's how I feel about Donald Trump and his administration. But we have to be willing to do what Michelle said and not enable other folks to take us down a path where we're complicit to what's going on. I'm a stone cold believer in that. And that's why every day I speak so I don't know, emphatically about why we have to maintain our connections to each other. It's critically important. And I just feel like that's we don't have any other choice. But the other side of that, or other way of putting it, is that's a good choice to have. It's a good choice to have, to take charge and to take control and to hold on to what we cherish and to push back and to punch a bully in the face 3 or 4 times if you have to. Let them know you're there. All right, guys, let's take a quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views on the Credo mobile phone and text line, and we'll be right back.
With MedGuard Alert, you're never alone. You can connect with medical professionals anywhere, anytime. And now MedGuard is introducing our exclusive new Care Watch. If you need help quickly, use it from anywhere to contact medical professionals. No cell phone required. The Care Watch is not only a life-saving medical alert device, it's a revolutionary health monitoring system that checks your blood pressure, heart rate, oxygen saturation, and much more. And here's the best part. If you have Medicaid, you may qualify to get your Care Watch for free. The Care Watch is only available through MedGuard Alert. Call us right now. We have monitoring programs starting as low as $1 a day. The call is free, activation is free, shipping is free, and no contract is required. Remember, with Medicaid, you may qualify to get your Care Watch for free. Call us to get your Care Watch right now.
800-741-5819. 800-741-5819. 800-741-5819. That's 800-741-5819.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see a few spotty showers and thunderstorms here for today with a blend of clouds and sunshine developing and a high into the mid-80s. Winds out of the southwest around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tonight, partly cloudy skies develop and a low near 67. Thursday, sunshine, high of 84 degrees. Friday, a chance for showers and thunderstorms. Cloudy skies with a high around 91. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 72.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
It's Chew's View with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Hey, Progressives, welcome back to the show. We've had this gentleman with us before, and he is a grassroots organizer. He gets down and gets with people and makes sure that people who feel like they're outside of the process are brought into the process, and that they've got an opportunity to be connected with a group that's doing the work that we all know that needs to get done. With us this morning is a co-executive director at the Center for Popular Democracy, and I'd like to welcome back to the show DaMareo Cooper. Good morning, Mr. Cooper. Welcome to Choose Views again. How you been?
Good morning, man. How you been? I've been watching the madness like everybody else.
Yeah, I've
been okay.
I'm good. I'm glad to hear you're doing well, and I'm doing well. I'm in the fight, so that to me is that keeps me going. Is the fight that we're embracing and a part of. I got to give a kind of a dual shout out. I got to give a shout out to a great friend of ours of the show, and every now and again contributes a little bit to us. His name is Kurt Herner. He's in Ohio. He's actually a Kent State dude as well, just like you are. I didn't make the connection till I was like, wait a minute, but both of these guys are Kent State dudes, so it must be something.
Wait, what's his name again?
His name is Kurt Herner, Hurner. I'll connect you guys offline or off the show. Yeah. Kurt's he's a down dude, very, very well informed, full of a ton of information, and just somebody that you should know. And I think he'd be a good ally. Each would be good allies for each other. So shout out to Kurt.
That'd be awesome.
I'll make sure to get that done. Government is not the problem; it's the prize. Those are words from DaMareo Cooper, y'all. DaMareo, I know we're going to talk a little about the 14th Amendment, but help folks understand what that means in this conversation of craziness that we're in right now. Government is not the problem; it's the prize.
I mean, right now, when we say that, we mean that government. Whoever has the government, whoever has control of the government, gets to make the decisions around what happens to us in this society. And we've been trained like, oh, government is a problem. Government is, I don't care, this, that, and other. But actually, the gift, whether they meant to do it or not, of the framers is that they left a democracy here, and the democracy says that people are supposed to have the ability to make decisions about the laws and rules that govern their lives. And so when we think about government, we've been taught traditionally it's a problem. But when we think about it as organizers, we're like, actually, we're trying to build enough power so that we can control the governments that, make the rules. And so we think of it as the prize. You win the government. You either win or lose the government. And it's kind of like, I like to think of it as, when I talk about it, I say, it's like a football game. People think that, the government is the football field, when in fact it's the football, right? And in a football game, you have to win the football, and then you have to score with the football. And if you don't have the football, you're playing defense. And right now, we don't have football, so we need to play some defense to get the ball back, and then we can score. So when we say it's a prize, that's what we mean. It's like we, the people who are on this call, working people, in this country, folks who care about human dignity and human potential, we have to take back control of our government and make this our government. It hasn't, we know it hasn't done everything that it promises, but the things we have won, we should keep them and try to win more of those things.
Yeah, we got to get back. We have to get the football back. And we have to. This is a unique time. I like the way you put that. Using a football analogy, we have to get the ball back, and we have to keep it. At the same time, what we need to do as we're playing defense is we have to go, I think, a little bit more, not a little bit, a lot more on offense. In some ways, we probably, and maybe you agree or disagree, or at least to have some added perspective, we probably played defense a little bit too much, or we've been on our heels a little bit too much. Yeah. Maybe put it that way rather than saying we played defense. We've been on our heels a little bit too much. We need to lean forward to the middle of our foot to our toes and be in the offensive position until the cows come home, in my opinion.
Yeah, we need to be aggressive. I mean, you look back and you think about past times when Democrats really had, like, power, let's say progressives, not progressives, I don't know if progressives ever have power, just to be clear, but, like, Democrats had power and could have pushed really good legislation that helped working people, and they were trying to cut deals and compromise and kind of work in a traditional way. And then the other side has been on the 40-year or 60-year really attack, right? Like they've been, when they get the ball, they drive it down, straight down the middle, and like we're like trying to finesse and cut deals. And I don't want to say we. Let me stop that. They cut deals when what really needs to happen is like power.
Yeah.
Like we need to build power. We need that whole power. The regular people in this country need to win. And this moment actually it provides the opportunity, even though it's kind of scary and a little crazy. Like there's an opening opportunity for more people to understand, what the opposition, who the opposition really are, and like what their aim and goal is, which is why, today in this conversation about the 14th Amendment, it's critical for every American to understand, and like understand what the fight really is, like what are they really going through?
Well, and that so today being July 9th, 2025, it is the anniversary, a key anniversary of the 14th Amendment. And in this conversation that we're having broadly about immigration, and then maybe more specifically around birthright citizenship, we've seen all the I'll refer to them as the cat calls of, who should be going, who should be, I played a clip earlier today. I'll just cut to it of, is Melania Trump's birthright citizenship in check?
Right.
And we could go down that path all day long, but at the end of the day, the conversation is we've got to defend the 14th.
That's right.
Amendment. We really have to. People don't understand this is a slippery slope, because it's that old adage that they came after this group, I didn't stand up. They came after that group, I didn't stand up. Now they're coming after me. That is where we are. And a lot of people didn't understand when the Supreme Court a couple of weeks ago with the birthright citizenship conversation and that ruling on the lower courts. This is a big A deal, as Joe Biden would say. So, DaMareo, talk a little bit about the 14th Amendment, birthright citizenship. I almost mess up in saying that word, and then talk a little bit about what you guys are doing in leaning into this conversation around both of those topics.
Yeah, first it's important to understand, and I'm just going to start with. How we get to the 14th Amendment is through the Civil War, right? Like in the Civil War, we've maybe had this conversation before, is won by 400,000 formerly enslaved black people running away, stealing their labor, joining the Union Army, fighting to save the country, actually saving the country, right?
Yep.
But after the Civil War, there's a question about, like, what do you do with these people if they're no longer owned by other people? What are they? Are they, what kind of person are they? And so this fight is going on in Congress in the 1860s. By the way, when they say MAGA, when they say Make America Great Again, they are not talking about, I think a lot of people think they're talking about before, like Martin Luther King, the Civil Rights Movement. They're actually talking about before the Civil War. America was great before the Civil War because of these three Reconstruction Amendments: the 13th Amendment, the 14th Amendment, and the 15th Amendment. Yep. 13th Amendment, of course, says can't have slaves, or a person can't own another person. but the state can own you if you commit a crime, and they can lease you out to other people.
Right.
The 14th Amendment says, if you're born here, and this is the way that they solve this problem, if you are born in the United States of America, you're a citizen. In fact, it says all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States. And the United States, in the states within where they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law that shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny any person within this jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. Which means that even if somebody is not an actual citizen but is an immigrant here, that they still get due process and equal protection under the law. So these deportations are illegal by our Constitution. You know, and they know this, right? Like the opposition understands this. And on top of that, when we think about the key legislations in this country that actually make America what we kind of experience as America, equal protection and due process are critical features inside of our democracy. And equal protection is how we went Brown v. Board. It's how we won the Loving case, which is like marriage equality, and it allowed biracial marriages, right? The Housing Act is connected to equal protection under the law. When you go to court, when we talk about prosecutors and people getting due process or being treated fairly in court, that's a part of the 14th Amendment. When you talk about affirmative action, that was one on the 14th Amendment. Even reproductive rights, like the Roe decision was one on the 14th Amendment. It got overturned by Dobbs, right? Like, so we need to be very clear as a society that like this particular piece of legislation is what makes America America for a lot of people. And it takes all the laws that were previously held for only land-owning white men and applies them to everyone else.
Yep.
You know, so when we look at the things that our opposition is doing, they are attacking this piece of legislation.
They're attacking 13th, 14th, and 15th. And let me be clear, because so that if you guys didn't hear what DaMareo said about them, they are labeled the Reconstruction Amendments because post-enslavement, they were designed to, as best possible, frankly, balance the scales, or at least get them closer to being in balance. And the tail end of what he just said about land-owning white men were no longer the only ones that were entitled or based on the Constitution to have the support of those three amendments, 13th, 14th, and 15th. I would recommend that anybody listening to this show today take the time and go and read the 13th, 14th, and 15th amendments right now. You know, you can press pause on 1 and 2 for a day, but take part of the next couple of days and read 13th, 14th, and 15th. Get yourself a blue highlighter, a green one, and a yellow one, and go through and highlight the things that jump out at you. And the reason I say that, DaMareo, and you probably can lean into this even more, is right now a lot of people are getting the sound bites, if you will. But I think that to equip our folk and to strengthen our folk that are in this fight, you need to have a little bit more substance or meat on that bone to understand what 13, 14, and 15 mean to all Americans. Because in 14, see, some of y'all may have missed this. When he talked about women's reproductive rights, that's part of the language, not directly, but part of the language or the meaning of the language in 14. Okay?
That's right. 15
gets into due process. And so I think this is the homework assignment that Professor DaMareo is giving to all of us. I'm passing out the papers. And everybody across the country, y'all need to go through 13, 14, and 15 with a red, a blue, and a yellow highlighter. And the things that jump out at you go, okay, now I'm a little bit better informed on what they really mean and what their basis, keyword basis, is all about. The historical pieces of this. Keep going, DaMareo. I apologize. I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
Well, I mean, it's good to point out because people really need to understand its history. This is why the DEI, they're trying to bury this history, right? Because part of what happens So the Civil War is really an argument around, it's like states' rights. It's like we are the Confederate States. We have the right to own humans. We have the right to engage in human trafficking on a mass scale. And then there's a fight about it. And that group that was about human trafficking on a mass scale or enslaving people, they were like, this fight is not over. So even after these amendments, when the 15th Amendment gets passed and black men are allowed to vote, the 19th Amendment gives women the right to vote. But in the 15th Amendment, when black men are allowed to vote, they go and vote en masse. And they win elections. Like 2,000 people are elected throughout the South, throughout the country. Some of them, a lot of them, formerly enslaved people.
Yep.
Right? And they become legislators, like senators and representatives. And what happens in 1876 is that, like a couple years, not even a full decade later, after the 15th Amendment was passed, there's a compromise in 1876. And what's happening is the Confederates are cutting a deal with the moderates to pull the Union troops out of the South. And when that happens, we see the creation of Ku Klux Klan, the Black Codes, and Jim Crow, which while we're talking about all this stuff about authoritarianism or fascism, Jim Crow and enslavement, but Jim Crow particularly in the Black Codes, are the first authoritarian system that happened in this government. We've seen authoritarianism in America before. It was called Jim Crow. And so after after these amendments are passed, there's a concerted effort by people who are screaming the slogan "states' rights."
Yep.
That are begin slaughtering these black folks who are inside of these state legislatures. And then we fight about it. And it's not a fight, it's suppressed. And then you see the civil rights movement coming back demanding voting rights. Brown v. Board was an example of using the 14th Amendment to get better education under the Equal Protection Clause. And so then you see a movement happening. We talked about this before, Ella Baker and all this kind of historical civil rights fights. When King is talking about America had a blank check, he's talking that hasn't been cashed. He's talking about the 14th Amendment.
Yep.
That is the amendment he is talking about. And so right now, we see ourselves, after Obama gets elected, you see Donald Trump shows up talking about, is he a citizen? Birthright citizenship question. He's immediately starting, even then, they're starting to load up and attack the 14th Amendment because they understand that it gives too many people who are not landowning white men power to have to use our government to create a better set of policies and laws to live under for everyone. And so he immediately is attacking the 14th Amendment when he shows up on the scene in politics. And then they use that to build out the Tea Party. And now we're just living in the results of it, even to the point where you see the Supreme Court passing laws that basically says that local courts can't hold the executive branch, can't file injunctions to hold the executive branch accountable to the Constitution. Right? There is a concern. This is what we are currently up against. However, they're overreaching, going too far. People are starting to ask questions like, what is really going on here? And part of what we need to help people understand is not only there's a set of things that the 14th Amendment says. It says all this stuff about due process, equal protection under the law. It also says stuff like if you were a part of the Confederate uprising and insurgency or overthrow, then you cannot hold, if you're a general, especially if you're a high-ranking person in the Confederate Army, you can't hold an executive office.
Yep.
Right? So that means if you think about J6, we already have an illegal president right now based on the 14th Amendment.
Yep.
And the oligarchs and people like Trump and his administration, they understand what the 14th Amendment really says, which is why they're tampering with it, which is why they're using, affirmative action is such a big deal. Why? Because it was protected by the 14th Amendment. We think about abortion rights. Why? Because it's based on the 14th Amendment. People who say they care about humans and babies being born all of a sudden don't care after the baby is here, which is crazy. You know what I'm saying? So
I had so many people that I've shared this with, that in terms of this ruling by the Supreme Court a couple of weeks ago as it relates to the lower courts and injunctions. There is no accident there in their objective. I said last year when the Supreme Court made this ruling on immunity and what a presidential act looks like, I said then, I said it on this show, I said it at every place I could say it, that was really, people thought that was about giving the president power and that it would make him unwielding, and act in an unwielding way is what I want to say. But what it really did, and now we're seeing it, is it gave themselves, the Supreme Court, the six, more power. Because if you think about it, what they did is they stripped away the federal court's ability to have any say, and they gave it to themselves. And people thought I was crazy last year when I said, no, this is not about the Supreme Court giving Donald Trump or the presidency more power. It's actually about giving themselves more power. And here we are a year later from the immunity. And what are we doing? What are we saying? The Supreme Court is making decisions that will allow them to have usurp the power of the federal courts. And in what category? Specifically, the birthright citizenship. Because what that then lets them do is determine who actually can be in this country. A lot of people thought I was crazy when I said that last year, but here we are. It hasn't even been a year, and we're running down that path. So, folks, you know, DaMareo, you say this often in things that you post and that you put out there. People need to pay attention, you know, and when I say pay attention, I guess this is why I passed out the paperwork, but you gave the homework assignment. Read the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, folks. You have to do that. You got to know, and you do this so well, is equip people with information, and you provide them with tools where they can be a steward of the things that we call important or that we hold near and dear or that we cherish. And freedom, the word freedom, is part of each and every amendment to the Constitution. It's part of every single part. It's the word freedom. And last year, I mean, I'm not relitigating the election, but Vice President Harris talked about freedom in many, many venues. The freedom for folks in the United States of America to be able to live their lives in as prosperous of a way as possible. And so here we are. This is a unique anniversary. A lot of people didn't know. It's kind of snuck up on folks in terms of the 14th Amendment, but it is a hugely important one. And Defend the 14th campaign is something that you've really been at the tip of the spear. Tell us a little bit more as we wrap up. What are some of the, let me reposition that. Tell us some things that you would like people to do or be thinking about doing as it relates to the 14th Amendment right now in this time.
I mean, first I think people should go to optimoc.org and look up our Defend the 14th campaign, which is in that website. And then I think we have to make sure that if you're listening to this, your job, when we say each one teach one, your job is to find 5 to 10 people that you're going to say today is the ratification and anniversary of the 14th Amendment, and that is Black people's real, legal Juneteenth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? The Juneteenth we celebrated because Galveston, Texas, and people found out that they were free. But actually, the 14th Amendment is what gives Black folks in this country the protection of the Constitution and the law. And then there's 2 things that need to also happen before we leave. I can't leave without saying this. It's that, communities of immigrants, African immigrants, Spanish-speaking immigrants from all over the world need to understand that their protection, the protection that they do have, not saying it's fully, but that they do have and what's being stripped from them right now, was won from the blood and lives of Black people in this country who were formerly enslaved. So that needs to be communicated. And then the other side of that needs to be clear. Black folks, if y'all are listening to me speak right now, do not think that what you're watching happen to these immigrant people where their kids are being separated from their parents, where they're being pulled over and locked up and put in the form of federal business and everything that we've seen in L.A., the National Guard, et cetera. Do not think that when they get rid of due process, that somehow you're going to keep it. Because if they get rid of birthright citizenship in this country, that means Black folks in this country, citizenship will be questioned. Yep. And everybody who's listening right now knows what happens next. So make sure that all your cousins and your mom and your co-workers and people know what the 14th Amendment is and understand what the last thing, sorry, I know we got to go, but the last thing is that corporations have used the 14th Amendment to have equal protection under the law more than any flesh and blood living human being, because corporations get to be considered persons, not persons. They've manipulated that clause to protect themselves. And we should be clear that corporate oligarchs, very, very wealthy people are trying to get rid of this so they can exploit working people even more. So Black people, you need to pay attention to what's happening to immigrants because it's happening to you next. And immigrants, you need to have some, I know there's an anti-Blackness thing from a lot of places where immigrants come from, but you need to recognize that my ancestors, our ancestors, Black people's ancestors, created this constitutional amendment that protects your life right now.
Yep.
And there is something we have to do together right now that is important for us, for our children's collective survival. And that's really what it is. So go to Pop Demot, look up the Defend the 14th. We're Popular Democracy. Look, get your research, come holler at us, and then join one of our organizations or build an organization so that we can stand up against this particular authoritarian moment. We get past this, we can build a future for ourselves.
No, wow. DaMareo, thank you, brother. I appreciate you just laying it out there, unapologetically just saying it and speaking that truth. Always great to have you on, and I hate that so much time went by from the last time, but we got to do this again sooner than later. Let's look at the next few weeks and try to get you back on. Thanks for all the hard work that you're doing. Appreciate all that you're doing, and we look forward to talking to you again, okay?
Thank you, man. Shout out to Popular Democracy affiliates.
You got it.
Y'all be well. Keep the work up.
All right, man.
All right, man. Thanks.
Talk to you soon.
Peace.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye.
Whew. Wow. I hope that got some folks riled up and stimulated. You got to know these truths. He said something that a lot of folks who are immigrants to the United States sometimes forget. And your ability to be in this country, and don't be upset about it being said, but your ability to be in this country is built on the backs of former enslaved people. Embrace that the next time you get into a conversation about getting rid of people. You would not be able to be here were it not for 13, 14, and 15. Certainly 14. All right, let's take a quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views. We'll take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Check up on health with Chris Whitting.
Studies show most parents say they've talked with their teen about drugs, but half have not brought up the subject of inhalants. And today there are about 1 million new users. Dr. Wesley Clark of the Center for Substance Abuse Treatment.
There are over 1,000 products wherever industrial solvents or aerosols are used. Now, these were never conceived of as a form of, quote, recreation or experimentation. So it's not the products we're concerned about, it's the information that if parents don't talk to their children, then peer pressure results, and then they start trying it, huffing or sniffing, and then we get long-term medical consequences.
Parents must be aware of missing household aerosol products, chemical smells on kids' clothes or breath, or a dazed or dizzy kid. With Checkup on Health, I'm Chris Whitting.
WCPT Replay.
We have spoken before with Rich Logis, founder of Leaving MAGA. I want to talk to you more about your own personal journey, Rich. When did it finally reach a breaking point?
The final straw for me was May 24th, 2022. And that was the day of the Uvalde, Texas school shooting. And after that day, Joan, I quietly left MAGA. I only told a few people. When I did that, something was gnawing at me that wasn't enough. I was always very unapologetically public in my support for Trump. I felt that I needed to reciprocate, and I needed to be unapologetically public in my renunciation of MAGA. And it was on August 30th, 2022, when I published a mea culpa. And in that mea culpa, I said that I was wrong, that I hurt others, and that I was sorry that I supported Trump and MAGA.
Keep listening to WCPT 820, because facts matter.
Give your liver the support it needs with Active Liver. Go to newnordicusa.com, Amazon, or ask for Active Liver at your local CVS. New you, new Nordic.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. Officials say a man and 2 children have died in Ruidoso, New Mexico, after being swept away Tuesday by floodwaters. And Governor Greg Abbott says more than 160 people are believed to be missing, days after massive floods struck central Texas. Crews, along with hundreds of volunteers, are part of one of the largest search operations in Texas history. The union representing city workers in Philadelphia has reached a deal with the city to end a strike that lasted more than a week. Former sanitation worker Terrell Hagler, who's now a private hauler, says he stands behind the workers but wants to help struggling residents.
Right now the city is a little bit of unrest, so our goal is to hopefully relieve some of that tension by cleaning as many blocks as we can, picking up as much trash as we can for customers, just to give some ease and some peace.
The walkout had affected curbside trash pickup and other services. AP correspondent Charles de Ledesma reports Russian violations in Ukraine are up for scrutiny.
Europe's top human rights court has delivered 2 rulings against Russia, stating in the first ruling that Russia has violated international law during the conflict in Ukraine, the first time an international court has found Moscow responsible for human rights abuses since the full-scale invasion in 2022. The court also ruled Russia was behind the downing of flight MH17, the first time again an international court has found Moscow responsible for the 2014 tragedy that claimed 298 lives. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
A Turkish court has ordered a ban on Elon Musk's artificial intelligence chatbot Grok from Turkey after the platform allegedly posted content on X insulting to Turkey's president and others. This is AP News. Travelers no longer have to take off their shoes for security screenings at certain U.S. airports. AP's Charles Sheehan reports on speculation as to why there was a change.
We don't know what is driving this decision specifically, if there's an upgrade on the technology used to detect explosives. But one thing that we do know is that the Transportation Secretary Administration and interaction with it at these checkpoints is one of the friction points. And when the Transportation Secretary, Duffy, asked earlier this year what is the worst part of traveling, it was almost overwhelmingly the TSA.
This change ends a policy that had been in place for almost 20 years. Longtime Red Bull team principal Christian Horner was abruptly fired today after a 20-year stint that included 8 Formula One drivers' titles and a rise to celebrity status. Red Bull did not give a reason for the decision, but thanked Horner for his work in a statement. I'm Marcela Sanchez.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see a few spotty showers and thunderstorms here for today with a blend of clouds and sunshine developing and a high into the mid-80s. Winds out of the southwest around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tonight, partly cloudy skies develop and a low near 67. Thursday, sunshine, high of 84 degrees. Friday, a chance for showers and thunderstorms. Cloudy skies with a high around 91. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 72. Hey, Chicago. Hal Sparks is coming back to Chicago for a live show on Saturday, July 12th. He'll be back at Max and Benny's in Northbrook. The Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide, airs Saturdays, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Guess what? Johnny Million will join him, but most of all, he wants to talk with you about everything going on right now. Tickets are on sale at heartlandsignal.com/WCPT820. Get yours now before they're gone. This remote broadcast is made possible by Max and Benny's Restaurant, Deli, and Bakery.
Because facts matter. You are listening to WCPT 820.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
I keep hearing MAGA Christians say that God put Trump in place and that we are to be respectful of that decision. But there was a time in the Bible where God allowed a king to come about, even though he didn't want him. But the people begged for a king, and God gave them a warning. This king will take your sons for war. He will take your daughters for labor. He will tax your lands and your goods, and ultimately he will oppress you. It didn't matter. They wanted him anyway. So God gave them Saul. Now Saul looked the part. He was tall. He had a commanding presence. He was full of bravado. But you know what else? He was obsessed with his image. He was prone to emotional outbursts. He was insecure about his leadership. And he would blame others for his faults. Does that sound familiar? And God let Saul rise to power, not because he approved, but because the people chose charisma over character, and ultimately regretted their decision because Saul did everything that God warned. So before you say again that God chose Trump, ask yourself, is Trump a Saul or is Trump a King David? Because not every crown is a calling, and not every rise is a blessing.
Creepy music for a creepy time from a creepy dude. But that wouldn't be the depiction of our guest, our Wednesday road dog, Kurt Mullett from Hoosier Blue 63. Good morning, Kurt, and welcome to the show.
Good morning, Richard. How are you doing today? Did you do that on purpose to excite me? Did you? Okay.
You know I did that. Not because of you, but because of listen, guys. I'm going to do a little bit of an intro and let Kurt talk about some stuff that he's working on. But yeah, I kind of did that on purpose. I was like, okay, I'm gonna throw my man. I'm gonna throw a man a good one here. Oh man, I know, right? That's got to be our new T-shirt. Oh man. Good Lord. But no, I mean, Christians, there's so many of these Christian nationalists who I know you can't stand have said things like Trump was sent here by God. Trump was sent here by the holy power and the holy being and the da-da-da-da-da, whatever. And if that's the case, then y'all going to get upset for what I'm about to say. He sent the wrong dude. Because the one that he sent does replicate in many ways Saul, and that's not a good thing. So, yeah, I thought about you with this one. I was like, yeah, I'm going to drop this one on my man Kurt before we get started. Welcome.
Yeah, I mean, religion is something I don't feel comfortable talking on air with you because I don't want to offend people, but you know how I feel about it, okay?
Sure, I do.
You know, and some of the things that DaMareo just said, you and I have been talking about. This is all about white supremacy. This is all about white supremacists gaining control in our country. This is about eliminating anyone who does not look like them or look like me, okay?
Yeah.
This is what it's all about. And for all of those people who do not look like me, who voted for this guy thinking that he's going to do something for you, you've been hoodwinked, fool, and made an idiot out of, because I guarantee you your time is coming. Project 2025 has an outlined. They want to eliminate population in this country. They want to bring it down to about 100 million people. So that means the elimination of over, 200 and some million people. Mm-hmm. And do you think that it's going to be white folk that they're going to get rid of? People that look like Stephen Miller or Russ Vaught or Tom Homan? No, it's not. And so, I mean, and I'm not fear-mongering.
No.
You know, this is talking about the true hard facts that people just can't get through their heads or understand. I just seen a post about a woman in Miami, Florida, who voted for the felon who's from Cuba. And her son just got detained by ICE and is going to be deported.
Yep.
You know what her comment was? I'm so disappointed. I never knew he would do this to me. What do you mean to you? I mean, seriously, do you think he gives a rat's blank about anyone? Anyone. This guy does not care about anyone.
Nope.
He never has.
Listen.
His life story is about that.
Trump.
And people think that there's a connection there with him. It blows me away, Richard. I'm I'm sorry.
No.
Look, that
man.
clip before I come on, okay?
That's what. This is exactly why I played it, because of what you've said so many times, what I've said, what folks like DaMareo have said under, in private quarters. We can't repeat some of that language, but the point, the stuff that we can say on the air is how in the Saul analogy is one of the best I could find. I looked hard. That is the analogy that I think makes so much. It makes sense in explaining it, but it doesn't make any sense that people would have fallen for it. But when you think about how people can be so easily manipulated because they're looking for something or someone to fill a void in their lives. Michelle Peltier said something yesterday that we may not have touched on enough, and she said most people need to go to some form of therapy. And when she said that, see, here we go. Most people need to go to some form of therapy to fix the stuff that's in their lives so that they can be better human beings. And in this moment, people might go, well, what the hell does that have to do with talking about politics and social issues and all of it? It has everything to do with it, because there's a lot of people that have gone down this path, Kurt, that got down this path because they've got something lacking or void in their lives, and they filled it with a bunch of garbage, and that garbage starts to rot, and they then rot inside, and they become the people that are now following this rotten human being that is Donald Trump. People want to know how. That's how they didn't fix some of the garbage. They didn't throw out some of the garbage that's in them, and as a result, then we have this, and that's why this analogy I thought would be appropriate for you and I to jump off the bridge with regard to Saul. Man.
And then you have people like myself, whose family and friends or what have you have to attack me and tell me that I've got TDS and that I'm suffering and that I need to seek help because of my hatred for one guy is so deep. And I sit back and I think, oh my God, do I walk away or do I say something about this? Because seriously, this is why I hate him, is because of the things that he is going to do to people that think that he cares about them, that they have a personal connection with. And maybe they do, because they finally are in line with somebody who believes the same things that they do. And that's what bothers me the most, is that people that I grew up with, that I went to high school with, that I'm in my family, friends, and now I've discovered what they're all about and what they believe. Because I don't care who you are. If you are supporting this guy, if you are on his team, if you are on his sideline, this is what you believe in.
Yeah, at this point, you don't get the safety net anymore of I didn't know, I wasn't aware. No. That's all that is giving yourself some comfort or a warm blanket to excuse your bad behavior. You knew, and if you there's no listen, Kurt. I'm of the mindset now, and Michelle talked about this yesterday, and I'm going to stay on this because it's important. One of the things that Michelle said is that we have to talk about this, but we have to talk about it from a perspective of how we're healing each other and how we're making sure that we're strengthening our resolve, strengthening our sort of our care button. That's my word or wording. But we have to be mindful of over talking about this dude in a weird way gives him power. And we know, you and I have talked about this on a number of occasions. And the hate that we have for what he's doing and the hate that we have for the people that he's impacting is a scary thing to get too caught up in, because we really do need to spend more, or at least 50% of our time, as much as we're hating on what he's doing, we have to be working toward empowering more people to be in this fight. And that's what I love about what DaMareo Cooper is doing, is he's pointing it out. He's making it clear, but he's also doing it from a perspective of fighting and making sure that people are finding a way to be in this fight. I want to pivot to something that's more specific to you and one of your recent posts, which I think is great, and you all need to check this out. And it's called "Welcome to the Birth of Real-Time Gilead." Let's talk about that a little bit.
It's simply, we had an instance in Indiana. I don't know if we talked about it last week or not. I don't think we did, but there's a church down in Indianapolis where the preacher got on there and basically said that all, members of the LGBTQ community either need to commit suicide or be murdered. I mean, it's on tape. I sent you a small clip of it. You can find it on the internet if you do a search on it. I can't remember the name of the church now because, that's been a week and so whatever. There's been other things that have happened since then that, my mind gets polluted with. But Indiana, I've mentioned this many times on a lot of my different posts. Indiana is a testing ground for Project 2025, and I call it Gilead, Indiana, because it's the actual birth of Gilead, which is the fictional creation in The Handmaid's Tale of white supremacy and just the beliefs of the Christian nationalists. So, and Indiana for sure is no doubt that breeding ground for it. So,
yeah. You guys got to check. You got to check. Yeah. Google Kurt Mullett, and you'll find this if you go to his Substack. Subscribe to his Substack, Hoosier Blue, 1963 at Substack.com. It's a really good reel that Kurt put out.
Thank you.
And yes, it's Wednesday, so we are talking with our good friend Kurt Mullett from Hoosier Blue 63. So you've got this new thing called a podcast that's called Something to Say, and when I saw you talking about this and posting it, I thought about the great song by, why am I drawing a blank on her name? Something to talk about. Give them something to talk about. What is her name? Help us out, Devin. The female singer. Not Kate. I almost said Katie Lang. It's not Katie Lang. But in any event,
something to talk about. Yeah.
So talk about your new podcast, Something to Say.
Well, this is something I've been thinking of doing for a while. I was caught up in so many different other things that I just didn't get to spend a lot of time. I wanted to make sure that when I launched a podcast that I did it right, that I was a little bit different, that I knew how to be, spot on with it. And I'm a bit of a perfectionist. So I didn't want to just put together something and throw it out there. I want it to be something that reaches people and that conveys a message. So I, have been playing around with it, and I got serious about it the last month and a half, and finally got to the point to where I could launch it and start creating some shows. And basically what it is just I'm going to try to do something a little bit different. They're going to be shorter podcasts than what a lot of people put out there. I'm going to try to stick around the 10 to 15-minute range on my podcast, and I'm going to talk about different things that all surround basically political environment, either past political, current events, what I see things in the future. I'm going to talk about American history and political history and different things like that. So right now I'm on Spotify and YouTube, and it's called Something to Say with Hoosier Blue. And, hopefully people who listen and watch podcasts will tune in, and those who never have, give me a shot and see what you think about it and leave me a comment, because like I said, they're going to be shorter podcasts. I'm going to get to the point. I'm going to talk about it. I've got a segment in each podcast called Fascist of the Day, and I've made a list of people that I can nominate as a Fascist of the Day, and it's like 4 pages long right now. So
and that's wait, Kurt, and that's single space, not double space, right?
Yeah, and that's just not doing any Googling. That's just people that come off the top of my head. So
man,
I appreciate you talking about it. I was honored to be part of Karen and Anita's podcast a little over a week ago. I had a great time talking with them, and that's available for people to listen to now. So It's just something I think in the future. There's more and more journalists, Joyanne Reed and Katie Fang, amongst others. I'm not going to start listing them because I'm going to definitely forget somebody. There's even rumors that Rachel Maddow now is thinking about leaving MSNBC and, to do something. I think this is a future. It's already been a strong platform for a lot of people to get information, but it's been more of a right-wing, conspiracy theorist type situation. When people hear the word podcast, I think they freak out about it and say, "Oh, I'm not going down that road." Well, there's a lot of useful information out there, and there's a lot of people talking about important subjects. So it's just something I wanted to dip my toes into and to get started. So it's been fun so far. I've enjoyed what I've created so far, and like talking about it. Gives me more freedom. Right now, my episodes are basically just going to be me, but in the future, I will have guests, and I will be doing interviews and talking with people. So I'm just looking forward to it. So thank you for bringing that up for me. So.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I'm going to, my role as best I can is to amplify what everybody else is doing in terms of organizations, as you guys have heard me say, in terms of podcasts, in terms of writings on Substack, and the list goes on. I want to do my best to amplify what folks are doing, getting people involved, getting people connected, making sure people are not sitting and stewing and being upset and throwing shoes at the television. Do something, y'all. Do something. I'm telling you, and make a point of connecting to other folks. Listen, it's a blessing, and I'm thankful that you and Karen and Anita are connected now, and that other folks are going to be connected. That's how we, in our own little way, and DaMareo talked about this earlier, that's how we take this stuff back. Man, that's how we take the football back. It's a great analogy. We take the football back by doing something. We can't just sit back.
Right.
And listen. There's folks that I get emails and texts and different communication from people that say, "Chew, why are you always going after people?" Listen, let me just say this. If I say y'all, if I say us or we or you, sometimes I am talking directly to our side of the table. And the reason for that is we got to fix our stuff. And fixing it's an opportunity to do better and to work together and to be stronger together. If we leave somebody out of this conversation, that's on us. We should be like detectives looking for people to pull into the conversation and get them to work on this in this fight. That's what DaMareo, he didn't say those words. Those are Richard's words. That's what part of the meaning was when he said that we have to take the ball back. And we have to take the ball back by going on offense. We can't just play defense. We've got to do both. And right now we have to be more on offense. So what you're doing, again, these are my words, is you've gone on offense. You said, listen, I got something to say and I'm going to say it and I'm going to put it out there, and God willing, folks are going to come to it and they're going to share it, and we're going to keep doing this. So that's why I'm so excited and wanted to really prop you up in that space. Something to Say is Kurt Mullett from Hoosier Blue 63's latest dip of the toe in the water, and y'all need to check it out because it's pretty good. And by the way, thanks for the shout out to our good friend Karen Byrne from True Blue Politics Podcast and Anita from San Antonio for the same work that they're doing, because they've been making it happen for a while now.
Yeah, they have been. Hey, one thing I found out about Karen and Anita, and I know Anita really, I don't know if she's ever been on your show, but Karen, I do. They talk a little bit different on their podcast than they do on air.
You mean they cuss and they say nasty words? Wait. Hold on a second. This goes back to my days with the family meeting. We used to say this all the time during the breaks. That's where the good stuff is, because all the and Devin's nodding his head and smiling in studio right now, and so that's true here during the breaks. Oh, Devin and I and Henry and I, we cut up. And so, yes, Karen and Anita, those are two salty girls. I say that respectfully. Those are two salty ladies. They come with them. And you probably, listen, Kurt, this is probably what happened to you. You probably went, Dang. I didn't really.
Yeah. You know that meme out there, that black guy that goes, "Whoa," you know, that was like, okay.
They tuned you up real quickly, didn't they?
Oh yeah, I was pleasantly shocked. Okay,
I would love to see your face right now. I know you're blushing. I know you're blushing.
Yeah, it was awesome. I love him. I had a great time with him, and hopefully we get to do it again. Hopefully I can return the favor to him. So,
absolutely. Well,
it was great.
We definitely will make that happen, or you guys will make that happen.
You know, we talked about you and the things that you have done, and this is one thing that I don't think enough of us talk about, what Richard Chew has done for progressive liberals and for people like myself and like Karen and Anita and others, okay? You've given us a platform to where we can not only express our opinions and our views and our feelings about, you know, what's going on in our country, but you've locked us together. You've brought us together, and you've created a community. And when you say all of your players, you truly mean that. You're not just, you know, throwing out words. You stand behind what you say, and that's one of the things that we have such great respect for you about. So I want to thank you, and you don't get enough credit. So I just wanted to make sure that on Richard Chew's views that I give a shout out to Richard Chew and the views that he has. So thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. You've been instrumental in all of this, and you know I am so honored to be part of the fight and be on your team. So I may not pass you the ball all the time, but hey, you're there. I know you're there to get the rebound if I missed the shot. So
I was a better rebounder than I was a scorer when I was playing basketball because I was willing to throw the elbows so that we could all be part of the success. And I embrace that, and I thank you for saying that because that is what I really believe. And for me, I want to make sure that people feel good about themselves, that people are connected, that people understand that we can win this. And if I get to have a little bit of an impact on that in this life that I'm living, then I am thankful for it beyond belief. So well, you've done it, bud. I'm excited. And you know what else is cool is that I'm excited about where we can go with this. We got a lot of work to do. There's no question about that. But that's why I was so emphatic a moment ago when I said, listen, do something, y'all. Doggone it. Don't just sit back and complain. Do something. Right. And if it means calling into this show or reaching out to Kurt or reaching out to Karen or reaching out to the whole progressive, liberal, democratic, soft Republican, changing their mind community, or calling your congressperson or calling your state legislators or calling your governors or AGs or whomever, then do it. Do it. If it means reaching out to a group like DaMareo's Popular Democracy, do it. Because that's what Michelle was talking about partly yesterday, about soothing ourselves, about healing ourselves, about caring for ourselves. Sometimes you got to take action. You got to punch a bully square in his or her mouth. And that's what I think collectively, when we do that, we are going to knock this wall over. So no matter how small and minor it is, every little bit contributes. One nail will help hold the house together, okay? And people need to realize and understand this. It doesn't take very long to burn the house down. It takes a long time to rebuild that house. And so even if this would end today and we would get rid of this administration, which is, not going to happen right now, just remember we have a long road ahead of us to build back the house that they are burning down right now. So it's not a fight that's going to end anytime soon. So, yeah, absolutely. Man, it's always good to hear your voice, and I'm so proud of the work that you're doing and glad to be partnered with you in what we're trying to get done. Thank you so much for all that you're doing, Kurt. People appreciate it, and I can tell you I know that for a fact that they do. So thank you again. Well, thank you, Richard, and the same holds true to you, man. You have a lot of respect out there, so. Thank you. Keep up the good work, buddy. You too, man. Be safe this week. We'll talk to you next Wednesday, all right? Okay, have a great day. You too. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye. That is my man, Kurt Mullett from Hoosier Blue 63, and the new podcast, Something to Say. There you go. We're going to take a quick break, guys. The number is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
This is a WCPT Veteran Minute.
I don't know if she's here or not.
Captain Hugh Mulzack's love for the sea started after he finished high school, as he served the British Sooners and in 1918 immigrated to the United States. Within 2 years of joining the Marines, Mulzack earned his shipping master certificate, the first African American to do so. In 1921, Mulzack was promoted to the rank of captain. In 1942, the SS Booker T. Washington, the first ship to be named after an African American, was created, and Mulzack was offered the position of captain, but he turned it down at first, as the Marines did not want to have an integrated crew. Mulzack stood firm on his beliefs, stating, "Under no circumstances will I command a Jim Crow," and Mulzack became the first African American captain of the first ever integrated crew. Under Captain Mulzack, over 18,000 troops were sent to the European war front, and ships carrying tanks, aircrafts, and ammunition to United States troops in World War II. This has been a WCPT Veteran Minute.
It's nice to know someone is on your side. Mark Drugs always has your back. No two dogs are the same. A dosage form or strength of medication that works for one dog may not work for another. A compounding pharmacy like Mark Drugs is here to help you with your pet's medication challenges. We'll be happy to help you when your pet is sick. After all, it can affect the whole family. That's why we give our four-legged patients customized medications to make it easier for them to take. For pet medication problems, first see your veterinarian, then talk to your hometown independent compounding pharmacy, Mark Drugs. If you'd like to know more about the ways we can personalize medication for each individual patient, we'd be happy to help. We are a compounding pharmacy, which means we can prepare the medication prescribed in a strength and dosage form that meets the patient's needs. Ask us how our pharmacy can help. You have a choice when it comes to your health care, and a great choice is Mark Drugs in Roselle and Deerfield, where you get better health and care for you and your pets. Check out the Pet of the Month at markdrugs.com.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see a few spotty showers and thunderstorms here for today with a blend of clouds and sunshine developing and a high into the mid-80s. Winds out of the southwest around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tonight, partly cloudy skies develop and a low near 67. Thursday, sunshine, high of 84 degrees. Friday, a chance for showers and thunderstorms. Cloudy skies with a high around 91. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 72.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
It's Choose View with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Wow, what a crazy morning. We had the wonderful DaMareo Cooper with us this morning from Popular Democracy, talking about the 14th Amendment, 13th and 15th, and how they are all integrated and merged together. And then we had our good friend Kurt Mullett from Hoosier Blue 63 giving us the lowdown on some of the latest work that he's doing with his new podcast, Something to Say, and one of the latest things he posted called Welcome to the Birth of Real-Time Gilead. So it was great to have Kurt with us this morning, and all the work that he's doing and connecting people out there. You guys have heard me say this every week, if not every show. One of the most important things that you can do is get involved. Be involved. Find something to do. Don't just sit and stew and throw sneakers at the television or the radio if you're upset about something that's going on politically, socially, and all the rest. Get involved. And oftentimes it's organizations, volunteer organizations and the like, that allow people to get involved and to do something and to say, okay, I'm spending X amount of time doing this with this particular group. And with us this morning in studio is one of the individuals that has spent her career being involved and making sure that people understand the importance of volunteering, and that why it provides connection. It gives people something to do, but at the end of the day, it helps people that are in need. And with us this morning is, I'm going to call her Doc, Kimberlee Guenther from the Chicago or United Way of Metro Chicago. Welcome to the show. Thanks for coming in. Thanks
Thank
for being
you for
with
having
us.
me.
Are you nervous?
A little bit.
Okay, well, get rid of that.
But excited.
But excited, right. See, this is the thing about being nervous. It's most of the time it's tied to excitement.
That's true.
So glad to be with you. Excited to chat with you. And you guys have got a lot going on. But before we get there, take a moment and just share with our audience a little bit about your background, and the work that you're doing, and then we'll get into some specific things that are going on right now.
Sure. So my role at United Way, I'm the Chief Impact Officer. So United Way has been in Chicago for about 95 years, came out of the Great Depression, so that sort of original recognition of widespread need for a certain population, and folks just coming together and saying, how do we raise resources? How do we support folks in our community? Since then, we have evolved in many, many ways. And over the last 10 years or so, we have really focused on thinking about the city and the region as, a whole ecosystem, and not just thinking about direct service programs, but also, how do we help support communities with their visions? How do we create opportunity? How do we bring everybody together? As you were talking about folks getting involved. My background is in sociology, so big plug for sociology that helps us understand the world. But, really taking that holistic look at our experience as a city and supporting neighbors and really recognizing the different forms of expertise that exist all over our community.
So Impact Officer, Chief Impact Officer means that there's a group, there's a team of folks that you work with, that you lead and give them the ability to make things happen. So talk a little bit about that. Talk a little bit about your team.
That's right. So we have a couple of functions on our team. One is the grant making that United Way has always been known for. So we have about 145 nonprofit partners across the Chicago metro area. And for them, it's about providing resources. It's about providing unrestricted resources, because we believe that organizations know how to use their money in the most effective way. They're the ones that are doing this work every day. They're the ones that are really connected to the communities and the residents that they're working with. The other side is a community engagement team, and that is the folks that are working on our place-based initiative, which is called the Neighborhood Networks. We have 17 of those across the region. Wow. 9 in the city, 8 in the suburbs. And we have a team that has a really diverse range of backgrounds. So we have folks with organizing experience. We have people with social work experience, business, kind of all coming together to support organizations, coalitions, and communities kind of, again, bring their visions to life.
So you've got for lack of better words, a professional degree and specific to, as you said, go sociology.
Yep.
So how did that steer you into the direction of the career path that you're currently on?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's funny because I think over the last 20 years and how my own career has evolved, really, used to be focused on the arts and culture and, thinking about kind of with my own background, what role I play in the type of work that I'm doing now. And I was fortunate enough to work at the Field Museum, actually, and start working with a group of applied anthropologists looking at mixed income housing development, so the CHA Plan for Transformation. And through that experience, really became grounded in the many hurdles that people have to get over in order to maintain their housing. And that just set me on a path of really thinking differently about disinvested neighborhoods, and how much harder it is to kind of access the resources, both as individuals and communities that people need. So kind of went back to school again because I could never get enough schooling, and really kind of focused on that sort of historic disinvestment and but also through a community-based research lens and really appreciating kind of the expertise. I mean, you want to know how to navigate a broken system, ask people that are trying to navigate it every day, and you'll find that people know every single nuance about what's going on in their communities and those institutions that shape their lives.
So with with the work that you're doing, what would be, when you get to work each day and you're going about solving problems, what are the biggest tasks, the things that you're dealing with that and I just have to ask the question this way, that stress you the most, that just give you moments?
I think it's the idea that we're not all in this together, which is not something that I experience so much among my colleagues or our community partners. But when you think about the way people approach community today, you know, it's hard to get folks engaged in things that are so far from their own experience, and trying to figure out how to sort of get the message across that, you know, you prospering doesn't do much if the region isn't prospering, and we're kind of all in this together. And if we look at the historic disinvestment in communities in the city and the region as well, you know, there's a lot that needs to be undone, a lot that needs to be rebuilt. And in order to do that, we need all types of different people with all types of different resources, knowledge, experience to come together to address those issues.
So the disconnection that I would put words in your mouth that's for them to solve. That's not my issue.
Exactly.
That kind of thing is what's the disheartening part. So let's flip to the other side of that. What are the bright spots, the upbeats, the ones that you go, okay, yeah, we're moving in the right direction and we're making some things happen. What are some of those bullet points? Yeah,
I mean, every single day, actually, I get to talk to a partner somewhere that has done something extraordinary. And some of it feels a little bit like an overnight success, but it really is that overnight success, 20 years in the making. So just a couple of weeks ago on Juneteenth in Austin, the Aspire Center for Workforce Innovation opened. This has been in the works for 7 years, I think, is when it was first sort of conceived as part of their quality of life plan. It takes a school, a Chicago public school building that was first built, I think, in 1898, and was closed in 2013 as part of the CPS school closures. And now it is this incredible center for all different types of workforce support. There's a BMO bank branch in the building. So we're, thinking about that kind of private investment, and now really stands as a beacon on the corner of Madison and Central. And that's only because of the vision of people in that community over the last 7, 8, 10 years.
Well, that part right there about the bank, we've all seen the importance of having tools in communities. And when you talked about the disinvestment or the taking away and all that, banking is one of those tools. In certain communities, people don't even know about going to the bank. They use other forms of financial transactions. So to see that that's taking place in a community that hasn't had that or certainly hasn't been aware of the importance of a bank that's right there in your community, that's a strong statement. So we're talking this morning with Dr. Kimberlee Guenther, who I listen, any person that I've had on my show, that I've been blessed to have on my show, if they have that behind their name, I like to speak about it. And I've got a few folks that have been on the show that have gotten teased by their colleagues when I refer to them as Doc, but you get those props from me. But we're with Dr. Kimberlee Guenther, who's a Chief Impact Officer of United Way of Metro Chicago. Let's talk about what's happening, what you guys have got going on. I mean, you're always active, you're always going, you're always doing things, but here locally, you've got something to be fanning the flames about in a good way. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, we've been moving and shaking, I think, with our community partners. We started this initiative in 2013. So, again, speaking to that, nothing is an overnight success, and we've got to be committed to the long game. That's really what this initiative is. So with the neighborhood networks, we started just working with coalitions, and we know that people collaborate to the extent that they can, but the way that nonprofit funding is structured and the work is structured, it can be very siloed. And so it happens kind of off the side of people's desks. when they have time for it. And what we started doing was investing in that infrastructure, saying what's really important is to have a strong, network of partners that know each other, that are moving in the same direction and can align kind of the work that they're doing. And I think we found over time that it just takes a little nudge in one direction or the other for programs to kind of click together in a way that they're serving families better. And we've been building that up for a long time, and saw during COVID just how effective that structure was, because those are organizations that then had trusted relationships with each other. They had trusted relationships with community members. So they were able to really quickly figure out what it is that people needed and really who was best positioned to get those resources to them. So, that was extraordinary. And then at the same time, they started thinking about economic development, because we know that as heroic as the human services sector is, it cannot undo a lack of economic opportunity in communities. But they also started taking that into their own hands and envisioning community centers, envisioning what their commercial corridors would look like. And what we've been able to do is continue investing in that infrastructure, but also say, what are the other things that you need? What's the capacity that you need as an organization that we can build? And also, how do we think about, all of United Way's networks, our individual professional networks, but also the kind of unique relationship that United Way has with the corporate community to kind of get these resources where they need to be, and stop thinking about it just as a philanthropic or sort of charitable approach, but also truly an investment approach in communities.
Well, 17 neighborhood networks is a lot to kind of put one's arms around and be a part of. How do you navigate that? How do you, make sure that that's happening in the way in which your vision and your mission is set out for?
Yeah, I mean, it makes every day exciting. But I think what is most impactful about the model is we're not rigid. We don't say this is the model and you need to implement it in this order, in this way.
Right.
It's really adaptable. It really honors the very unique culture of each neighborhood that we work with, because we know Chicago's a city of neighborhoods and they all feel very different. Yep. So it honors that, and it starts from the place of strength. We know that communities are full of assets, and we're not saying you need to develop this whole new kind of expertise. We're saying, let's start with where you're strong, build that momentum, and go from there. And, as you were talking about the team, my team that I work with, we have somebody who is on the ground on a daily basis with each of these communities.
Wow.
So we build work plans together with them. It's super collaborative. But then as things arise, it is not sort of your typical funder grantee relationship. As things come up, they call us and say, hey, we're encountering this, or we need that, or have you heard about this? And so we're kind of responding in real time because we have that connection to them. So it's just become sort of a natural flow of work that we're deeply connected to our partners, and but it's a lot of fun, and we're also able to see what's working in some neighborhoods and then sort of scale that or replicate that or connect people to learn from each other.
One of my colleagues and friends and cousins is Eric Grant. He hosts the Family Meeting show, which is on Sundays. Excuse me. And he's talked about this forever, that it's so important to look at this, to look at the work that we do when businesses are involved as a business conversation. And you said the words earlier, not just philanthropic, because sometimes people do get lost in that conversation around what's philanthropic and what all those things. And I know that you as a professional deal with this more directly than we do, but he's always about, and I am too, let's make the business case. Let's talk about the business case of why we do this work to strengthen and benefit communities. And lean into that a little bit about why that's so integral to what you're doing.
Yeah, I think if we look at, communities that we would consider more affluent, those that are thriving, they have a strong economic base. They have a variety of different sort of income sources. They have small businesses and restaurants, yes, but they also have folks that are working outside of the community that come back to that neighborhood and spend dollars there. So they have this thriving, economic ecosystem that is based on all different types of capital, all different types of, personal income. And when we think about communities that have less of that, it is often through that, that charitable sort of notion of, well, let's build a community center where people can get services, or we need jobs in that neighborhood. And I think it's more complex than that. I don't live and work in the same neighborhood. Many of us don't. So, how do we create that mix? At the same time, we've been working with ITW for a couple of years, and they've had a long-standing and really strong partnership with United Way. But through building this different type of relationship, they're building a manufacturing facility in Austin, and that wouldn't work for a global company like ITW if it didn't also meet their business objectives.
Right.
So, they're building this facility, they're going to hire from the neighborhood, but they're also, working with the neighborhood network to say, what are the appropriate shift times?
Yeah.
What do people need in order to, successfully retain these jobs? So they're thinking beyond their business interests. They're really kind of pairing their philanthropic goals with their business goals. And I'm really excited as that comes online to see what kind of impact that will have, because I really think it's a new model.
Well, and it's interesting because, and thank you for sort of leaning into that. My brain went down the path of all the neighborhood businesses that were once there and are gone, not just in Chicago, all over the country.
Right.
And all sorts of things are contributing factors to why and how that happened. And we've got little time today to talk about those whys. But I think the opportunity and the inspirational and the forward-thinking part is we can pull back or go back to that, to what you said about the reinvestment. Let's correct those wrongs. I call them wrongs. You didn't call them wrongs. But let's correct those disinvestments by looking at entities, businesses, and organizations like the United Way and saying, hey, let's partner. Because in this community, we've got this just wealth of talent that has yet been uncapped. So let's put something in here that fits your business model and does the thing that's right for the community. Those two come together. It's going to be hard for that business to leave because it's being I don't want to say funded, but it's being supported by the community. And the community is not going to want that business to go. Am I crazy, or is that close?
You're not crazy. You're not crazy. I think the key to success here is making sure that the community also knows that it's for them, so that they are participating in sort of all of this from day one. And that as businesses come in, it is not just about their own agenda. It's about how they fit into a community's broader agenda.
Right.
And so that I think is something that we've been able to build. It's not just dropping something in that, will spark gentrification.
Right.
It really is fitting into this more comprehensive plan.
It has been such an honor to have you with us, Dr. Kimberlee, to talk about the United Way, but also in a broader sense, talk about how, and again, these are my words, how we as a community come together. And when we do that, we're able to get so much done that's sustainable and long lasting. And it also makes the communities that we work in and or live in, which may be separate, mirror each other. The community that I live in is one way, but the community I work in is similar to that. And so you guys have really kind of, captured that and are moving that agenda forward with the United Way. This next 6 months of 2025, what's kind of on your whiteboard? What's on your the things that you got to get that done, or we got to get that started?
Yeah, I think the work continues every day, and it's, 6 months goes by in a flash. We have...
You remember what you were doing on New Year's Day?
Right.
See, 6 months ago.
Exactly. Yeah. So we have other organizations that are continuing to build out capital projects. In Auburn Gresham, there is the Anaerobic Digester, which is doing really remarkable things around food waste and clean energy. They're building out a new center that's connected to their Healthy Lifestyle Hub.
Wow.
In Brighton Park, they're developing a new community center that creates space, provides services. So that'll be open towards the end of the year. And then, really just thinking about how to invest our program dollars in the coming year and staying in that close contact with partners.
Excellent. Well, how can folks find you? How can they get involved? I always want to give our guests that opportunity to put it out there so folks know how to get involved with the organization.
Sure. Well, they can absolutely visit our website at liveunitedchicago.org. I also very much encourage people to think about kind of what they do in their daily lives and their daily work, and think about how some of those skills can be utilized within community. Lots of folks that, work in HR or finance, there are always opportunities to support organizations in, strengthening their operations. And those are things that people do every day. So it's not just about a garden or painting a classroom. It really is about using your skills to help strengthen these organizations and then our whole community.
Absolutely. Well, it's been an honor and a pleasure to have you with us in studio today, and that would be Dr. Kimberlee Guenther, who is the Chief Impact Officer at United Way Metro Chicago. And we appreciate you being with us, but more importantly, we appreciate the hard work that you and your team have been putting in and making things better for the communities here in Chicago.
Thank you. It's been a real pleasure to be here.
Right on. All right, guys, we made it through another show. Thanks to our guest. Of course, Dr. Kim was with us this morning, DaMareo Cooper, who was with us earlier, and our good friend, Kurt Mullett from Hoosier Blues 63. Always a pleasure to be with you guys. As we say at the end of every show, take a deep breath and make your life count. We'll see you tomorrow.
Are you tired of talking to yourself? We can get you an audience on the radio. You can produce and host your own radio show on one of our 2 stations. Please call 773-792-1121. That's 773-792-1121 and ask for Mark. Limited space available.
The far left's anti-ICE riots.
Republicans are so dumb. Because at WCPT, we go to Riot Fest to riot, baby! Riot Fest is back in Douglas Park, September 19th through the 21st. Come see all your favorite bands, Blink-182, Alkaline Trio, Weird Al Yankovic, Weezer, Green Day, and many more. Tickets are still on sale at riotfest.org, but lucky for you, if you join the WCPT